This case begins with a plea so raw and desperate that it captured the attention of an entire community. Samantha is my best friend and partner in crime. Without her, half of me is gone. Samantha, if you're listening, please get in touch. Please come home. Those were the heartbreaking words spoken by Samantha Eastwood as the search for her sister reached national coverage. You're watching Totally True Crime. And today we go deep into a case that shook, Stoke Trent, and exposed a tragic and hidden story behind the disappearance of 28-year-old midwife Samantha Eastwood. Samantha was a talented, dedicated young woman who had trained for years to work in the maternity department at the Royal Stoke University Hospital. Her colleagues described her as someone with a warm and gentle presence, the kind of midwife who made frightened mothers feel safe. The kind who brought comfort and reassurance during some of life's most emotional moments. Her life seemed full of promise. She had been in a long-term relationship with John Peake since 2010, and their wedding was planned for early 2018. Samantha had chosen her dress. The ceremony was booked, and she was preparing for a future she truly believed in. But in January 2018, everything changed. The wedding was canceled. The relationship dissolved, and Samantha placed her never-worn dress for sale online, a quiet symbol of the life she thought she would have. 6 months later, on July 27th, Samantha completed a night shift and left the hospital at 7:45 a.m., captured on CCTV walking with a colleague before getting into her Volvo and driving home. But by 7 p.m. that same evening, she failed to return to work for her next shift, something that immediately raised concern. When her family checked her home, her car was there. Samantha was not. Even more worrying, her bank cards were inside. No money, no signs of travel, no explanation. The police and Samantha's loved ones were growing increasingly anxious. But then, something strange happened. Her sister Gemma received text messages that seemed to be from Samantha. The first message suggested she'd had a breakdown and needed space. She wrote about wanting to be left alone, not wanting to do anything reckless, and needing time away from Facebook and from pressure. Gemma was desperate to see her, offering repeatedly to meet her privately, promising to keep her confidence. But the messages continued with dismissive, abrupt responses. Hours later, the tone suddenly shifted. A message claimed Samantha was in a blue BMW with a man she'd met online, that he was taking her to the motorway, and that his name was Lee Davis. It was a moment that alarmed the police, but also raised suspicion. Was this really Samantha, or was someone else using her phone to create confusion? The public was not informed of the texts. Police wanted to avoid compromising the investigation, and they suspected Samantha might not be the one writing them. At the same time, the media circulated her image widely. Pictures of her smiling in her hospital scrubs, holding newborn babies she had helped deliver, were displayed across news outlets and social media. The community was shaken. A neighbor came forward saying they heard a scream from Samantha's home at around 2 p.m. On the day she vanished. With that information, police intensified their investigation, deploying officers, collecting CCTV footage, and asking locals to check dash cams and remote roads for anything unusual. People online began to speculate, and tragically, many unjustly focused their suspicion on Samantha's ex-fiancé John Peake. But the police already knew he wasn't involved. They had spoken to him in detail, and the facts weren't pointing in his direction. Instead, they uncovered something far more complicated. Samantha had confided in a colleague that she'd recently been threatened. She said she felt unsafe and asked her colleague to call the police if she didn't show up for her next shift. As the search expanded, police arrested Armando. They did not reveal his identity immediately. They only clarified it wasn't John. The arrested man was Michael Sterling, a landscape gardener and Samantha's former brother-in-law, married to John's sister. Police soon discovered Samantha and Michael had been having an affair for 3 years, a relationship that had contributed to the end of Samantha's engagement. Days before she vanished, Samantha told a colleague she planned to tell Michael's wife about the affair, something that made her nervous. Michael had even joined search parties, hugged Samantha's sister, and played the role of the concerned relative. But when officers interviewed him, he gave no comment and attempted to deflect suspicion. Still, investigators found his behavior odd. He admitted being at Samantha's house the day she disappeared, placing himself at the scene and aligning with the neighbor's claim of hearing a scream. Police surveillance on Michael paid off. After releasing him on bail, they continued watching. Shortly after, they observed him riding a bicycle to a remote area near Tick Hill Lane, a rural spot he knew well from disposing of garden waste. What he didn't realize was that he was leading police straight to a crucial discovery. Officers approached the area and found disturbed soil, a mound of freshly dug earth. Forensics teams were called in. Beneath that earth was Samantha's body, wrapped in a duvet, with tape covering her eyes and mouth. The discovery devastated her family, colleagues, and community. A place that was once part of Michael's daily work routine had become the final resting place he had chosen to hide the woman he claimed to care about. Michael was rearrested. During hours of questioning, he initially stuck to silence, but eventually confessed. He admitted that when Samantha arrived home from her shift, an argument erupted. It escalated into a physical struggle, and he suffocated her by covering her mouth, nose, and throat. Police believed his actions showed intent rather than panic. After killing her, he wrapped her body and put it into his van. He then drove to his in-laws' house for dinner, behaving as if nothing had happened while Samantha's body remained in the vehicle outside. Later that night, he buried her in the shallow grave, then rejoined the search effort standing beside her grieving loved ones. While knowing the truth, he also sent the messages pretending to be Samantha, fabricating the story about the online man named Lee Davis, hoping to throw investigators off his trail. Michael's father and another man were arrested for suspicion of assisting an offender. Their charges were later dropped. Michael pleaded guilty to murder. His defense spoke about his mental health history, but the brutality and deception of his actions weighed heavily during sentencing. He received life imprisonment with a minimum term of 17 years. Tributes poured in from around the world. Colleagues, mothers she had cared for, and fellow NHS workers expressed their sorrow at the loss of a midwife who had brought compassion and steadiness into countless lives. A GoFundMe page described her as someone who helped bring so many lives into this world and had her own life stolen far too soon. Samantha's story became a painful reminder of hidden dangers within seemingly ordinary relationships, and of the extraordinary impact one kind, dedicated midwife can leave behind.